The combine starts 6 days from now, so you're in crunch time, so to speak, in terms of your training. You feel good? You ready to go?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I mean, my body's a lot healthier now, so I'm excited for the fact that I got a chance to just participate in the combine.
We've talked about this quite a bit, but coming out of a long season, and it is a long season for Alabama, even though you didn't play in the SEC championship game, you still played in the semifinal and the college football championship game, 14 games, a long season. As you said, your body was beat up. You went down to South Florida, and I've talked to you so much about your training regimen, but I guess a big part of what you did is, like you said, was just getting healed up and getting physically rested so that you could do some training after a long season like that. Am I right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of guys that's going to be participating in the combine, I mean, that was probably the number one thing for them as well, just the fact that, you know, if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to perform to your best of your ability. So, I mean, for me, I just had the number one thing for me was just to get healthy. And then after I did that, man, you know, I think the rest of the stuff will take care of itself.
Give me a little insight into the process. And I know you go to the combine, and that's going to be a whirlwind. But as we've said before, you're represented by Drew Rosenhausen's agency.
Yeah.
Has it started yet? Are you talking to teams yet, or getting feelers from teams, filling out questionnaires, or does that all kind of start at the combine? What's that process like?
Yeah, that's kind of been happening so far. I mean, they just really trying to figure out what type of guy I am. And for me, I feel like this time is for me to really just kind of let teams know the type of dude I am, and especially not only that, but at the same time, somebody that they can actually trust. So I feel like this is probably the most important, part of the whole thing, just to let these guys know kind of how I'm coming.
Do you get a feel yet for, and I know you look at projections and your representatives have the mock drafts and all that in front of you, have you got a feel yet for where you think you're going to go in that first round, or is that something you're even concerned with at this point?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't even really worry about stuff like that. Right. I mean, the craziest things happen in the draft. I mean, some guys that think they're going high don't even go high. Some guys that think they're going low, go high. So, I mean, it's kind of, to be honest, it's kind of bad to even look at stuff like that. I mean, because it kind of, messes your mind up, because you may think that, you may be getting, underrated or whatever it is. And really, to be honest with you, it's really off of you and how you perform, especially in this combine. So for me, I'm just, blessed the fact that I got the opportunity to, just be in the draft itself, be drafted by a team. And, just with this combine, I'm going to just, take full advantage of it.
That makes sense. You can't worry about things that are out of your control. We hear that from the time we're playing Little League sports. Being back in Tuscaloosa, we touched on this a little bit last week after having gone down to South Florida and did a lot of training there and speed work and so forth. But being back here around a lot of the guys and around Coach Cochran, how positive has that been for you?
Oh, it's been great. Shoot, just the fact I'm able to be back around guys that, I'm used to. And, Coach Cochran, he's always giving me some input about things I can work on. And just to be able to have him, his input, I mean, it goes a long way. I mean, he's one of those guys that's there for my, for my best interest. He's going to always look out for me. So, I mean, that's always a plus whenever he's back at home.
The game is football, and I always say, if you really want to see what the guy's about, put on the tape, and I know those scouts and coaches do that, but the combine is about numbers. That's just the reality of it, and that's why you're going through all this training. How do you improve? I mean, if you're running a 4.7 and you want to get to a 4.5, is it technique stuff, or is it just effort? I mean, everybody says, well, I want to get my 40 down to a certain number, and you said 4.5 is your goal. What do you do to make that happen?
Like you said, just technique. I mean, I feel like the number one thing with the 40 is really those first 20 yards. I mean, if you can get up to your peak speed, as fast as possible, I mean, that's, that goes a long way. I mean, it's a lot of guys that, a lot faster than the 40 times. I mean, and that's because, they may not have the best start, but at the same time, they still may be fast. So for me, the speed is there. I just got to get it up to my peak speed, as fast as possible.
Strength-wise, I guess, again, it's effort, technique, and then I guess, too, just reps, just doing it more and trying to get a little bit stronger every day, huh?
Yeah, just repping it over and over again. I mean, the mind is a crazy thing because, I mean, the more you really work on it, your mind really tells your body how to, continue to do the same, movements or reps or whatever it is that you're trying to get it to do. And once you do that, once you conquer that, I mean, all of that stuff comes natural.
I've talked to a lot of the guys that played at Alabama that are in the league now, and they've told me one of the big advantages about playing at Alabama is you go to some schools and you may have a few guys that are playing the NFL, but not that many, and not that many guys to get feedback from. But here, there's so many guys that have already been through the process, been through the combine, been through the draft, been through the interviews, and they lend their experiences to the guys coming out. Have you leaned on any of those guys like Jonathan Allen or whomever it may be about their experiences to help you out? Is that something you've looked into?
Yeah. I've talked to multiple players, man, that have already at least had at least a year up under their belt. I mean, they just telling me to just really just be myself. Don't make this part of your experience so stressful. Just to kind of really just let it all come to you, and then the rest of it will take care of itself. That's probably the number one thing they've told me, and that's kind of how I'm just going to approach this whole thing, just to do what I've been doing, and that's performing at a high level. So I should be fine.
Another thing they talk about is the experience at Alabama with Coach Saban is very similar to that in the NFL. So some of those guys have said, hey, we felt like we had a head start, and in some cases have even said that some of the things they do in the NFL in terms of practice and training is easier than the experience here at Alabama. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've heard that. Matter of fact, numerous of times. A lot of guys that come back from, experience in the NFL, they always tell me it's a lot easier, which I would kind of expect. I mean, Coach Saban, he's really probably the 33rd team, to be honest with you. So, but other than that, man, I mean, those guys, they do a good job of just, letting all those guys who are up and coming, just letting them know how things are. That just kind of shows you what type of caliber, players that we got that come through here, and also just, the chemistry too.
Our weekly visit with Rashaan Evans, former Alabama All-American linebacker, getting ready for the NFL Combine, which starts 6 days from today in Indianapolis, and then, of course, getting ready for the NFL Draft. A couple Alabama questions for you before I let you go, because you have been through this. This is the first year that you're moving on from Alabama. Whether you won the national championship or you didn't, those guys that are returning for the next season, right now, of course, I know they're focused on schoolwork and training, off-season training. But what's that like at Alabama when you come off a season? In this case, you win the national championship. And for those guys that are returning, what's it like getting ready for spring football? What are they going through?
I mean, it's exciting. I mean, just the fact that you get another chance to do it all over again, but at the same time, you understand you got a target on your back now. So everybody in the NCAA wants to be where you are and be able to do all the things that you've been able to do in the past. So, I mean, for those guys, the only thing they need to be worried about is just, individually just getting better at their craft. And then, as the, year goes on, you get into your summer workouts, then into your camp practices, and then on to the season. I mean, those things, they'll start to come together as a team. But for right now, I would just tell those guys just to worry about just getting better individually so that, when it's time, everybody will be ready.
Nothing has been announced officially, but the expectation is, Rashaan, that Tosh Lupoi will take over as the defensive play caller, the coordinator for Jeremy Pruitt. Tell us about Tosh. I mean, I've watched him at practice. He seems intense, seems like he relates to the player very well. How do you think he'll do as the defensive coordinator?
Well, I think he'll do very well. I mean, Coach Saban does a good job of hiring the right people for whatever job that they need them to do. And Tosh does a great job. And the fact that he was able to be up on Coach Pruitt, and you see what Coach Pruitt has done over the past years, and I'm really excited at the fact he was able to get a chance to be a defensive coordinator. I mean, I remember when he first came in, and I was a young player at the time, and he was fired up with just about, coaching football itself. And now that he has a chance to really coach, the best team in the nation right now, I mean, that's very big. I'm very happy for him because I've seen him grow and be able to, accomplish so many things. And now that he's able to be a defensive coordinator, I think it's kind of like a dream come true for him.
All right, Rashaan, I want to take you out of your comfort area just a little bit since you're a defensive guy. But For Alabama going forward, the quarterbacks, I just want your opinion. I know you're no longer part of the program as a current player. You're certainly an alum and always that'll be your team. But we know what Jalen's about. We've seen him lead this football team for 2 years. We know the talent of Tua Tagovailoa. Incredible second half he had in the national championship game. Just what's your thoughts on that? I think they'll handle it great, but you know how the microscope that Alabama football is. Every move they make in spring training is going to be dissected by reporters and broadcasters and analysts and so forth. How do you think that will go? And knowing Coach Saban, my expectation is that he'll just let them compete like he lets all you guys compete for other positions. But how do you think those two guys will handle that competition in the spring and beyond?
I think they'll handle it well. I mean, Jalen and Tua, I feel like they both got a good relationship with each other. And, I don't know if you saw, but, when Tua got in, Jalen was, in full support of him. And, you really don't find too many guys like that, the fact that they support each other. And for them to be a part of a crazy competitive ass team, I mean, it's kind of unreal to see. But the fact is that, you got really like a good situation if you're a coach right now. I mean, you got probably the two best quarterbacks as far as winning, in the nation right now. So, I mean, for them, all they need to do is just really worry about just, getting better at their craft, like I've been saying. I think all of that stuff will handle itself. But, Coach Saban, he'll pick the right guy. To be honest with you, whoever needs to play or whoever will play will be prepared. Trust me.
The dynamic of a locker room is a special thing, and from the outside looking in, we never know for sure what's going on, and shouldn't. You've been through it. Is it important that the play? I mean, you got 85 different personalities on scholarship. You've got another 30 or 35 walk-on players. How important is it, Rashaan, that guys like each other? Is that overrated, or do you feel like that's an important aspect of team building?
Yeah, I think right now in collegiate football, I think players they need to like each other. Okay. Like, I mean, the fact that I think collegiate and NFL, they have some similarities, but it's a little different. You got guys in the NFL that's they're paid. They don't really have to like you in order to win, as long as they get the job done. But I think in collegiate football, the fact that most of those guys aren't on the payroll, I think the chemistry comes in with them just creating a bond while they're training. I mean, as I was coming up, that was probably the number one thing was, the guy next to me was did I have at least a good relationship with him to know that, I was going to go out there and give it my all for him. So I think that's the number one thing in that situation is, really just kind of, come together as a team so they all really just work to one goal.
Final question is you're on the verge of the combine and of course, ultimately the draft. And we've talked about your parents. I know it's a very close family. Your brother, of course, here at Alabama. And the decision that you made to come to Alabama when there's a lot of pressure, obviously, to go to Auburn. I know you're excited and you're proud for them. But how proud are they of you? Have they shared that with you? What's it like I know you're as an individual, but as a family to see this come to fruition? This was the goal probably from the time you were even in 10th grade, people knew about you. So it's probably been a goal for a while to get to this point. What is it like for the whole Evans family to be a part of this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've stressed to me numerous amounts of times how proud they were of me. So just the fact that they've able to see me grow and, throughout my whole career, all of the things that I've been through, with injuries and, other stuff, just the fact that they was, a part of the whole process and were able to see all those things. They continue to tell me, how blessed it is for me to be able, to be a part of this whole little situation that I'm about to, take part in. I'm definitely blessed the fact that I'm able to just have a chance to be able to, go through the combine and be drafted as well. I mean, my career, a lot of things that I've been through as far as injuries and, not only that, but death as well. So for me, all I can do right now, man, is not take anything for granted to know that, any play could be my last. But at the same time, my family has been there, every step of the way. And, that kind of gives me motivation to continue to keep doing what I'm doing. And, it's been like that ever since, to be honest with you. I'm just blessed to have those type of people in my corner to know that they have the best interest for me.
Yeah, you are. And I know for you, it's a personal goal, but I think people listening will understand that as a family, everybody, is excited, and it's a family goal too. It's going to be a great time. Well, next week at this time, you'll be in Indianapolis. We'll touch base later in the week. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you on, work it out to get you on. But we're going to be watching you closely. Thanks for your time as always, Rashaan.
Thank you.